Greetings and praise the Lord. We are still continuing our series on Ecclesiastes. Today we want to look at a topic which is so important in Ecclesiastes, the issues of frustration and tragedy in life. The issues of frustration and tragedy in life. We want to focus on Ecclesiastes chapter 6 verses 1 and 2. And we want to look at frustration and tragedy. So what is frustration? Frustration is the prevention of the progress, success, or fulfillment that one is expecting. In other words, feeling so annoyed or less confident because you cannot achieve what you want. Then you say you are frustrated. And you feel very unhappy. You feel disappointed. And you feel that what you really want to achieve is not being achieved, and the more you try, the more you realize that the satisfaction, the expectations that you want, the success that you are expecting is not coming your way. You get frustrated in life. And what is tragedy? Tragedy is having an unhappy ending. Normally when we talk about tragedy, we associate it with accidents or the death of many people in a family or in a place. And sometimes when you have things like floods or earthquakes, which takes many lives, we see that is a tragedy. When we have an unwelcome accident that takes a very young life, we say it's tragedy. When people's buildings just fall on them, we say it's tragedy. But frustration and tragedy are linked up very closely in Ecclesiastes chapter 6 verse 1 and 2. So let us read Ecclesiastes chapter 6 verse 1 and 2 and see how frustration is related to tragedy in the Bible. Ecclesiastes chapter 6 says, "There is another serious tragedy I've seen under the sun, and it weighs heavily on humankind. God gives some people great wealth and honor and everything they could even want. But then he does not give them the chance to enjoy these things. They die and somebody else, even a stranger, ends up enjoying their wealth. This is meaningless, a sickening tragedy." Now, when you look at the situation here, you see frustration in life. And frustration in life is a tragedy because it can continue until you can be frustrated until you die in a tragic manner. Look at some of the situations we have in our lives these days. A person develops a new product and then calls in someone else to help him market it. Before long, the newcomer who comes to market it has taken over and the inventor has been robbed of his rights. Frustration. Somebody writes an article with someone else. Before he ends up publishing the article, the one that he's working with publishes the article. Sometimes it happens with students and their supervisors for a thesis or a project. He works with the supervisor sees that the project is lucrative. By the time you realize the person has published the thing without his knowledge, you get frustrated. A person toils for years to build his business and is snatched by death at the moment the business turns a comfortable profit. The person works for a business, builds this up, builds that up, puts all the structures there, puts all the investment into it. But when it will start yielding profit for him to enjoy it, he suddenly dies. That is tragedy. And that will be frustration for the family. Now, looking at these, we have some painful reminders that Ecclesiastes chapter 6 verses 1 to 2 is telling us about frustration and tragedy. They are the frustrations that one faces if getting rich, popular, famous is the chief aim. If your chief aim is getting rich, getting popular, getting famous, then you always get frustrated when it is not coming to you as you wish it will come to you. But here we are being cautioned that neither instant wealth, fame, and honor, nor long-term wealth, fame, and honor can accomplish all that they promise. Fame and honor, they promise that once you get this fame, you get to this political position, this institutional position, you'll be fine, you'll be comfortable. You get there and you realize that you are rather more frustrated than when you were not in that position. If I get this money and do this investment, I'll be fine. You get the money, you do the investment, and you feel even worse than when you did it. Sometimes the promise that when you get to a political position, you will be whatever you want to be, it's actually not the thing. You get there and you realize that it is not as the way that you see it to be. It is different. You always have to realize that it's not all that glitters which is gold. And so when you see what glitters and you go in for it and you don't get gold, you get frustrated. And when you get frustrated, tragedy can strike. We wrongfully go in for some of them, but we rightfully go in for some of them. We ignorantly will go in for some of them. But sometimes our actions are as a result of getting rich, getting famous, or getting wealthy. But there are three things that I want us to learn from this. There are three things I want us to learn from this whole thing about frustration and tragedy as we see it in Ecclesiastes chapter 6, verses 1 to 2. Three things. The first is that the giver of wealth and fame is God. Ecclesiastes 6 chapter 2a says, God gives some people great wealth and honor, and everything they could even want. Here, obviously, we are being told that the one who actually gives some people riches and honor and positions and promotions is no other person than God. We are being reminded here that whatever we have is given to us by God and not because it is our bona fide acquisition. Sometimes you get to a certain position and you feel like you are all in all. You even forget your past. And you start being pompous, you start being proud, and you start oppressing other people, and you change your humble and meek way of life to a very proud way of life, and you want everybody to bow to you because of your position, or your power, or your wealth. But you have to be reminded that if God has not allowed it, you will not have got those things. It is God who has given you the chance to get the wealth, the position, and the power. So the next thing that you have to look at is that God is also the stopper of enjoyment of wealth, position, and power. The one who gives you the chance to get it is the same person who has the right to give you the chance to enjoy it. He gives it to you so that you enjoy it. But if you don't go by his standards, he will not give you the chance to enjoy it. God told Moses that your eyes shall see Canaan, but your feet will not get there. I've given you the chance. He gave Moses the chance to lead the people from Egypt to Canaan. That is a chance of fame and power that was given to Moses. But because Moses disobeyed God by hitting his rod to the stone when God said, touch it, because of disobedience, God said, you will see Canaan, but you will not enter it. The one who is the giver of chance for power and fame for Moses was also the stopper of enjoying Canaan by Moses. So that is it. The stopper is God. So here Ecclesiastes 2b says, but then God doesn't give them the chance to enjoy these things. God does not give them the chance to enjoy these things. God gives them the chance to get the riches, but the same God did not give them the chance to enjoy these riches. You can make money, but not enough to enjoy for yourself. The fact is that I can look at my financial situation with a tragic and negative view, which leads to frustration and dissatisfaction. This kind of frustration is a tragedy. The reality is that money is like a river. It flows in and flows out. Instead of complaining that the river leaves you, you should be happy that the river came by you in the first place. But that is a hard thing to do, like Moses. He was taking the people of Israel to the Canaan. The people were complaining. The people were whining. The people were disrespecting him. And then he gets angry and he reacts in frustration. And the frustration of Moses turned into a tragedy where he never had the opportunity to step feet on Canaan to enjoy all the good things that he saw in Canaan. So it is very important for us to realize that the one who gives has conditions of obedience, respect, service, and fear. Once you don't abide by those things, when the wealth comes to you, and you start being disregarding, you start being disrespectful to people, you start being proud and pompous, you forget about the God who gives it to you, and you give the impression it's yours, and you can even get more, and you can control even more people, you can even get more power. By the time you realize that power, that honor, that wealth is with you. But your mind itself creates more negative things with yourself that you never even get the opportunity of enjoying it. Especially when you get into the situation where even what you got, you think you can get more. You have more power, but you can even get more power than you want. So you are looking for the time when you have more power than everybody. It will be a tragedy. The third one is that there will always be a takeover. There will always be a takeover. You know, when you have riches and you are not enjoying it, you might be asking yourself, but God, why? You shouldn't ask why. Ask God what you should do. Because if you don't ask the what and do it in time, by the time you realize there had been a takeover. There is always going to be a takeover. Ecclesiastes 2c says, they will die, and someone else, even a stranger, ends up enjoying their wealth. Your life will by all means come to an end. You are not going to have the wealth, the power for eternity. You're going to hold those positions to eternity. One day, you would die. And when you die, somebody else will take over. And you know, sometimes you think you are all in all, life will not go on without you, but you will die and life still goes on. Yes. Some people will definitely take over your wealth, your position that you have now. If wealth makes you pompous, God will take away the joy of enjoying it and give it to an undeserving person. Do you hear me right? If wealth makes you pompous, God will take away the joy of enjoying it and give it to an undeserving person. Those who want to be the richest people on the planet leave the planet with unfinished joy. Some of the people who will enjoy your wealth are strange people. When you were alive, you never thought that they would even come near your property, but die. And all kinds of people will come by your property. A very distant relative who you never even expected will come and take your property and go with it. It is really important for you to really realize that as time goes on, as you yourself see your life moving on, it is coming to a time when the old generation will take over, the old generation will go away, and a new generation will come. What kind of preparations are you making so that when there is a takeover, it will be a good takeover? It is very unthinkable to realize that some people who will take your position are people who have no sense of business, sense of organization, sense of leadership as you have. By the time you realize, everything just runs to the ground, and people will just point to it that so and so had this business, had this institution at this place. So and so was the person who owned these houses that are now have become houses which nobody lives in, and it's all broken down. If you don't fear God and humble yourself, that will be the end of your property, which you never even enjoyed in the first place. Sometimes people will think you are enjoying, but you will rather be consuming more frustration in your life. And these kinds of consumption of frustration is tragic. Your life itself is a tragedy or a bubble that will burst in due course, and this bubble will be in death. Enjoyment without God is merely entertainment, and it doesn't satisfy. I'm saying that enjoyment without God is merely entertainment, and it doesn't satisfy. But enjoyment with God is enrichment, and it brings true joy and satisfaction. I want to say to you that God has plans for your life, and God has not got frustrations for your life. It is when you move away from the plans of God, then you move into the area of frustrations and tragedy. The life of a Christian is an education for a higher service. So God is training you as He gives you wealth. God is training you as He gives you power. God is training you as He gives you positions, so that you will use those power, positions, and wealth that He has given you to help your generation. And when you use it to help your generation in humility and in the fear of God, surely you will have the joy of the Lord as your portion. God bless you for listening to me. This has been Reverend Professor Arnold coming your way with the Word of God. We've talking about frustration and tragedy today from Ecclesiastes chapter 6, verse 1 and 2. God bless you for listening. God take away frustration from your life. God remove tragedy from your family. And may you live having the joy of the Lord as your portion. And may God make you enjoy whatever He gives you as you remain obedient unto Him. I wish you all the best in whatever you get and the way you use it. As you have heard, we are still continuing the series in Ecclesiastes. This has been Reverend Professor Arnold, and I know you have been coming this way every Sunday at 7:30. Continue to tune in to our YouTube, our YouTube sessions, our Instagram sessions, as we continue to give you the Word of God this Sunday at 7:30 and every Sunday at 7:30 a.m. Shalom.